The Flying Suitcase. A fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen. There was once a merchant who was so rich that he could pave the entire street and almost a small alley with silver money. But he didn't do that. He knew how to use his money differently, sections, and if he spent a dime, he got a taller back. He was such a clever merchant, until he died. The son now got all this money, and he lived merrily, pursuing a different pleasure every day, making paper kites out of thalers and throwing gold pieces into the water instead of stones. This is how the money could probably come to an end. At the end he had no more than 4 groschen, and had no other clothes than a pair of shoes and an old dressing gown. Now his friends no longer cared about him, since they didn't live together, could walk the street. But one of them, who was good-natured, sent him an old suitcase with the remark, "Pack up." Yes, that was quite good. But he didn't have anything to pack. So he put himself in the suitcase. That was a strange suitcase. As soon as you pressed the lock, the suitcase could fly. The man did that, and immediately he flew with the suitcase through the chimney, high above the clouds, further and further away. But whenever the floor cracked a little, he was very afraid that the suitcase would fall into pieces, because then he would have made a really good jump in the air. So he came to the land of the Turks. He hid the suitcase in the forest under withered leaves and then went into the city. He was quite good at that, because everyone among the Turks wore dressing gowns and slippers like him. Then he met a wet nurse with a small child. "Listen, Turkish nurse," he asked. "What kind of big castle is this close to the city, where the windows are so high?" "The king's daughter lives there," replied the woman. "It is prophesied that she would become very unhappy with a lover. And that is why no one is allowed to come to her, unless the king and queen are with them." "Thank you," said the merchant's son, went out into the forest, sat down in his suitcase, flew to the roof of the castle, and crawled through the window to the princess. She lay on the sofa and slept. She was so beautiful that the merchant's son had to kiss her. She woke up and was very frightened, but he said that he was the Turkish god who came through the air, came down to her, and she liked that. So they sat together and he told her stories about her eyes. Those were the most beautiful, dark lakes. And there her thoughts swam like mermaids. And he told about her forehead, which was a snow mountain with the most magnificent halls and pictures. And he told about the stork that brings the lovely little children. Yes, those were nice stories. Then he asked the princess, and she immediately said yes. "But you have to come here on Saturday," she said. "The king and queen are having tea with me. You will be very proud that I get the Turkish god. But make sure you know a really pretty fairy tale, because my parents love it extraordinarily. My mother wants it to be edifying and elegant, and my father wants it to be amusing, so that you can laugh. Yes, I bring no other bounty than a fairy tale," he said. And so they parted. But the princess gave him a saber that was trimmed with gold sticks, and he could just use them. Now he flew away, bought himself a new dressing gown, and then sat outside in the forest and wrote a fairy tale. This should be finished by Saturday, and that is not easy. It was finished, and then it was Saturday. The king, queen, and the entire court waited with the princess with tea. The merchant's son received a friendly welcome. "Now do you want to tell us a fairy tale?" said the queen. "One that is profound and instructive. But what you can still laugh about, even if it contains a lot of wisdom," said the king. "Yes, indeed," he replied and said, "You have to be careful now. Once upon a time there was a bunch of matches who were extraordinarily proud of their high origins. Their family tree, that is, the big spruce of which they were each a small stick, had been a large old tree in the forest. Sections. The matches now lay in the middle between an old lighter and an old iron pot, and to this they told about their youth. "Yes, when we were still in the tree," they said, "we were really on the right track. Every morning and evening there was diamond tea, that was the dew. We had sunshine all day long when the sun was there, and all the little birds had to tell us stories. We could well notice that we were rich too, because the deciduous trees were only clothed in the summer, but our family had the means to buy green clothes both in the summer, then in winter. But then the woodcutter came, and our family was split up. The ancestor was given space as the main mast on a magnificent ship that could sail around the world if it wanted to. The other branches came to other places, and we now have the office of lighting the lamp for the multitude. That's why we distinguished people came into the kitchen here. My fate turned out differently, said the iron pot, with the matches lying at its side. From the beginning, since I came into the world, I have been scrubbed and warmed many times. I take care of the long term and am the first here in the house. My only joy is to lie in my seat clean after dinner and have a sensible conversation with my comrades. When I take out the bucket of water that goes out to the yard every now and then comes down, we always live within the doors. Our only messenger of news is the market basket, but it speaks too restlessly about the government and the people. Yes, the other day there was an old pot who fell down in fright and smashed himself to pieces. He was well disposed, I tell you. Now you're talking too much, came the lighter, and the steel struck the flint so that it sparked. Don't we want to have a fun evening? Yes, let's talk about who is the most distinguished, said the matches. No, I don't like to talk about myself, said the clay pot modestly. Let's have an evening entertainment. I'll start. I'll tell you something, everyone has experienced it. You can easily get used to it, and it is very pleasant. On the Baltic Sea near the beech trees. That's a nice start, said the plates. This will definitely be a story that we like. Yes, I spent my youth there with a quiet family. The furniture was cleaned, the floors were scrubbed, and new curtains were hung every fortnight. How well you tell things, said the hairbroom. You can immediately hear that a woman is talking. Something pure is passing through. Yes, you can feel that, said the water bucket, and made a little jump for joy so that it splashed on the floor. The pot continued to tell, and the end was as good as the beginning. All the plates clattered with joy, and the hairbroom pulled green parsley out of the sandhole and garlanded the pot, because he knew that it would annoy the others. If I garland him today, he thought, he will garland me tomorrow. Now I want to dance, said the fire tongs, and danced. Yes, God forbid, how could she stretch one leg up in the air? The old chair cover there in the corner burst when he saw it. Will I also be crowned now? Asked the fire tongs, and it was. These are the common people, thought the matches. Now the tea machine was supposed to sing, but she said she had a cold. She couldn't do it if she didn't cook. But that was just being polite. She didn't want to sing unless she was standing on the table with the masters. There was an old quill in the window that the girl used to write with. There was nothing remarkable about her, except that she had been dipped too deeply in the ink, but she was proud of that now. The tea machine doesn't want to sing, she said, so it can refrain from doing so. There's a nightingale hanging in a cage outside that can sing. It hasn't learned anything, but we want to let that go this evening. I find it most inappropriate, said the tea kettle. He was a kitchen singer and half-brother of the tea maker. That a strange bird should be heard. Is that love of country? The market basket may judge this. I'm just annoyed, said the market basket. I'm more annoyed than anyone can imagine. Is that a suitable way to spend the evening? Wouldn't it be more sensible to establish order? Everyone would have to come to their place, and I would direct the whole game. That should be something different. Let's make some noise, everyone said. Then the door opened. It was the maid, and there they stood still. Nobody moved. But there wasn't a pot that didn't know what it could do and how noble it was. Yes, if I had wanted to, everyone thought. It should have been quite a fun evening. The maid took the matches and lit a fire with them. How they sparked and caught fire. Now everyone can see, they thought, that we are the first. Sections, that was a wonderful fairy tale, said the queen. I feel completely transported to the kitchen with the matches. Yes, now you shall have our daughter. Yes, indeed, said the king. You shall have our daughter on Monday. Because now they said you to him, since he was supposed to be part of the family from now on anyway. The wedding was now fixed, and the evening before the whole city was illuminated. Rusks and pretzels were handed out. The street boys shouted hurrah and whistled. It was extraordinarily magnificent. Yes, I guess I have to do something too, thought the merchant's son, and bought rockets, firecrackers, and all the fireworks you could think of, put them in his suitcase, and flew into the air with them. That was no small noise. All the Turks jumped up so that their slippers flew around their ears. They had never seen such aerial phenomena before. Now they could understand that it was the Turk god himself who was supposed to have the princess. As soon as the merchant's son came back down into the forest with his suitcase, he thought, I want to go into the city to find out what it was like. It was quite natural that he wanted to had to do this. What people said. Everyone he asked about it saw it in their own way, but everyone found it beautiful. I saw the Turcotte himself, said one. He had eyes like shining stars, and a beard like foaming water. He flew in a cloak of fire, said another. The loveliest angel children looked out from the folds. Yes, those were wonderful things he heard, and he was to have his wedding the following day. Now he went back to the forest to sit in his suitcase, but where was it? The suitcase was burned. A spark from the fireworks remained, which caught fire, and the suitcase lay in ashes. Now the merchant's son could no longer fly, can no longer get to his bride. She stood on the roof all day and waited. She is still waiting, but he wanders the world and tells fairy tales, but they are no longer as funny as the fairy tale about the matches that he told as the Turkish god.